And welcome back to another episode of JP and the Beans Talk.
Ho!
We are back.
We're back.
We are back.
Straighten your ears. You're welcome. Unfiltered, per usual, the diesel version, if you will. There's a great energy in our gym because we're in it. And look at that. Is that Indiana Jones in the gym? I didn't know Indy lifted.
You know, I remember being at the Waverly Fairway,
Okay.
and I was telling somebody else up front that I looked like a young Harrison Ford. And as this lady was walking out, she's like, "Yeah, you do look like a young Harrison Ford." And I smiled really big, and
Wow.
I'm taking that to the grave. So, I am Harrison Ford's secret grandson.
What an honor that would be to find out, right? Like, would that really be so bad to figure out that, hey, you're the illegitimate child of not just anybody, but this famous person?
See, it would be weird because it's like, you know, you have your two sets of grandparents,
Sure.
and then you're like, oh, you're not my grandpa? Because that also means that either my mom or dad are finding out that that's not their parent.
Maybe.
So it's
Maybe. I would look at it as addition, right? Like, you keep what you have,
true.
but if there's anybody that you're not a huge fan of, you just can call them off to the side. But overall, you know, there's a really just growth opportunity here, really a positive thing. I mean, if you were Harrison Ford's long-lost grandchild, good for you.
It's true.
Yeah, we'd celebrate that.
I earned it. I earned it.
Don't know whose illegitimate kid I would want to be. Kevin Costner? Why is he the one that's coming to mind? Interesting. I'll have to unravel that
Field
one.
of Dreams?
Maybe. Field of Dreams. The Robin Hood movie where his English accent was terrible, but it was still a fun movie.
It is a good movie.
Still a fun movie.
It is a solid movie.
Yep. You know, he's Superman's dad in Man of Steel. I mean, he's a great guy.
It's true.
He's fantastic.
This is
Kevin freaking
true.
Costner. I'd be okay with that. All right. That'd be my pick.
I think that's a solid pick. I approve.
Or it'd be someone totally bizarre like Sean Connery. Indy's dad, you know? I mean, come on. That's one of the, I tell you what, that, all right, so Indiana Jones is a great character. We know this. We support this. We'll talk about it more. Who is your favorite, not Indy, character in those movies?
In the Indiana Jones movie?
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that to me.
Listen, I'll go first. It's Sean Connery as his dad
I haven't seen the third one in so long, but you're probably
in the Raiders
right.
of the Lost Ark. It's incredible. That's my personal fave. The fact that he constantly calls or refers to Indiana as Junior, but Junior! It's terrific.
I'm about to say, who else does he even compete with? Short Round, maybe? Short Round's not bad.
Well, the
Temple of Doom is creepy, though. That is one of the creepier... That is not one of. That is the creepier of the original trilogy.
Sure.
We don't talk about Crystal Skull.
No. Listen, I'm going to confess something to you about my Indiana Jonesdom. I've never seen Temple of Doom because all I've heard is that it's creepy.
Oh, dude.
And I haven't heard a single person that has watched it that was happy about that choice.
No, so... I don't know, it's kind of interesting, because the first one, you know, the first one's like tied for my all-time favorite movie. But they're
It's an
going
incredible
for the
movie.
They're going for the Ark of the Covenant. Number two, it's like a total change of pace.
Yep.
And it's
Oh,
like,
you're right. I'm sorry. I said Raiders of the Lost Ark for Sean Connery. Last Crusade. Excuse
Last
me.
Crusade.
Goodness.
And then, yeah, so the second one, Temple of Doom, it's like this village, water is like not getting there or something like that. Or it's like cursed. And so, because they took stones, like these blood stones out.
Right.
And then it turns out like it's a culty thing where it's
Sure.
like all these like people are doing like,
Doesn't it get a little, like, cannibalistic?
it's
That's never good. Like,
It's
that's just
like-
never a welcome revelation in a story or a movie. It's like, oh, BT Dubs, cannibals.
It's like almost because there's like a prince that's like a good guy,
Okay.
but he's involved in it because he gets like pretty much hypnotized and thrown in, so he doesn't know that he's in it. So a good portion of these people are like being like possessed almost. So it's super creepy.
Yeah.
And then like there's a moment where somebody grabs somebody else's heart through their chest. Yeah, it's freaky deaky, dude. But solid. Solid movie. Just the first one is so good, and the third
just doesn't
one
hold
is so
up to
good.
the other two,
Well,
which that happens.
also, it's just kind of like, it's an odd one, right? Because you have something so iconic as the like the Holy Grail.
Yep.
And
And the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes, those are two, like, even if you aren't Christian, those are like,
Those are big deals. Everybody understands.
right, those are like the big kahunas in
Some significant
archaeology.
artifacts.
Right, yes. Like if anyone found that, everyone would be pooping bricks. That's right up there with Noah's Ark, you know. If they found Noah's Ark, you'd be like, oh my gosh.
It'd be awesome.
Right. So, that should have been the third one. That should have been the second one.
There you go.
Ark of the
Forget
Covenant.
the Raiders. Forget the Ark of the Covenant. We're going for the Ark. Can
you
imagine how huge it would be?
Yeah, can you imagine him trying to smuggle the Ark off of the mountain? That's my pitch for number 6.
There you go. Okay. All right. Well, what about, okay, so I had to look up the actor's name because I could not remember. I remember it was the same actor who played Gimli in the Lord of the Rings movie. John Rhys Davies as Salah. He's a good supporting character in the movies. He's got the red hat on. He's actually featured in the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I need to watch the... I went through a rewatch and forgot to rewatch the third one for some reason, so I need to go rewatch the third one. But
Yeah.
yes.
I just love that he fights, that he's always going up against Nazis. That's great.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like this one's going to be Vietnam-esque.
But there's Nazis still.
Right.
I don't know. I would the setting. I mean, we're getting a little off topic, so we'll get into it. Anyway, I don't think there's any better character other than Indiana Jones than Sean Connery as his dad. It's just iconic. Marion is really good. The gal that plays her, she's outstanding in the first one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The love interest? I think Shia LaBeouf being his son was such a botched opportunity. It just sucked. Because I like Shia LaBeouf as an actor, and I think he did fine in that movie. I just think that movie is like, brings everything down in it.
Oh.
So it's just tough. It's tough in that sense.
You know what? We're going to use that. That is going to be our dumb thing from a previous movie that we're going to use. Because we're on an indie track here.
You're on any track.
So, for those of you tracking with us, we are fresh-ish off of seeing the most recent Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever, which we dove deep into in the previous pod. So now we're getting back into the rhythm of the just random what's out there, what can we discuss? A lot of great options, not the least of which that is inspiring Beans' tremendous indie hat was a trailer for the most recent Indiana Jones movie that we can expect in 2023, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I got that right? Kind of Ron Burgundy that. I'm Ron Burgundy.
No, it's Dial of Destiny. And before we get into all of these, I just want to point out, there's not a lot of superhero movies that were like announced recently, but like the slate of movies we're getting is dope. This Indiana Jones, the Super Mario Brothers movie dropped a trailer, and they are doing Mario Kart in that movie, and it looks dope.
Wow.
Okay, I will be in the theaters to watch that movie. I feel like I'm missing a third one that's not Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, Transformers.
Yep.
Transformers dropped one, and I was telling Jordan this is my generation's Godzilla / King Kong. Because this is just, we're going to watch robots fight each other.
Yes.
That's what we're going to do.
The same reason you watched the cartoons.
Right.
It's the same, it's scratching the same itch. Yeah.
Robots in disguise.
Love it.
Yeah.
So to bring it back, we've got a fresh Indiana Jones movie to discuss. But I'd like to, before we dive into that, okay, bounce off of it. We've loved hitting on both good and bad things from previous movies. We're going to start in Negative Town, okay? Because you brought up Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, all right? That was a bad movie.
Terrible.
It was unfortunate. It was not good. The hype was there. I think Shia LaBeouf was cast well.
I loved Shia LaBeouf in that movie.
It was appropriate. They brought Marion back in, so it made sense. But it turned out to be aliens. Sorry for spoiling it for those of you that... How?
Why?
No.
You have your whole thing is archaeology, and you're like
It was...
weird science, and it's like, and it wasn't it the Russians the bad guys in this one, right? And that's whatever. But like, do you remember that guy getting eaten by the fire ants?
Barely.
That was terrifying because they literally left a skeleton behind.
There's always got to be somebody that dies in a real nasty way.
There are horrifying deaths in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The first one was Ark of the Covenant.
Where they all melt.
That was horrific.
Wow.
Horrific.
Wow.
Number 2, I know there's a couple, and I can't think of them.
Well, you
off
mentioned
top
the
of my
guy
head.
getting the heart pulled out of his chest. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Number 3, that guy that gets sawed in like 3/4 in the booby trap on the way to get the Holy Grail.
Tough.
Right before
Quite tough.
Right before his love interest reveals that she too is a Nazi. And then, yeah,
Well, then he drinks
Fire
from
ants
the
guy.
not grail and, again, just melts.
oh yeah, that's bad.
Yep.
And then because there's that whole leap of faith thing too, and then that one guy just falls.
Tough.
I forgot. Yeah, there's
Oh, it's a great movie.
there's a lot
Great
of
movie.
There's some deaths in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, tons of them. Good call on the fire ants on your part. So where I knew, and I think you're going to resonate with this, and unfortunately it was relatively early in the movie, Indy finds himself somehow, I truly don't remember the set of circumstances that leads to this, but he's on a nuclear testing site. Where
fourth one?
where a nuclear bomb's about to be detonated, and he hides in a refrigerator. Yep.
Yeah, like in the Nuketown.
Like in Nuketown.
I remember that.
In Nuketown. The nuke successfully goes off. It detonates. It does not detonate. It truly explodes, sending the refrigerator flying miles, like not feet, miles. Eventually it hits the ground, rolls quite a bit. Indy steps out, brushes himself off, completely unscathed.
Okay. Well, the funniest thing.
I mean, that I know that in movies you're supposed to suspend your disbelief. That was absolutely preposterously unbelievable. First of all, just through the sheer weight of the fall, he would be jelly. Second of all, how is he not like terribly poisoned by the nuclear blast? The refrigerator really protected him from that. That was too much, too far.
Okay, so
Too far.
this reminded me. Okay. They tested it on MythBusters. The whole fridge scene. They tested it, and I was trying to figure out what they came up with. And no, that's not it. I was seeing if I could find it.
MythBusters would grab onto that. Good on them.
I can't remember. I was looking to see if there was like what their results were.
Sure.
And I can't find it, and it's irritating me.
What do you remember from that episode?
Don't remember much. They were doing a lot of different like Indiana, like it was like a whole episode on Indiana
Just based on
Jones.
Indiana, sure.
Yeah. So let's see here. So like being able to disarm somebody, they tested.
Okay.
And I think they said it was plausible.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think. See that?
There just has to be a thin thread reality, right? It doesn't have to be a known fact, but it just has to be believable enough. And that was one of those scenes that was, frankly, unbelievable and not in a good way. So that was my pull for, hey, dumb thing from a previous movie, that qualifies. Indy in the fridge.
I'm gonna look that up more
Not good.
off screen because.
No, but let's stay indie themed though for like great thing from a previous movie.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I remember my dad showing me the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, just the opening scene where he's getting like chased by the giant freaking boulder.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, and trying to weigh the little golden idol with the sand. I mean, avoid the various booby traps. getting betrayed by the dude who's supposed to help him. You know who that guy is, by the way?
Uh-uh.
Alfred Molina.
I think I did know
Yes,
that.
Alfred
It is
Molina.
Alfred Molina.
Yep, has his few seconds of fame and then is skewered.
Oh, yeah.
Super dead. Never showed up in a sequel for good reason. That to me is a scene that, I mean, it's 30 some? No, it's got to be over 40 years old at this point, and it is still iconic. And I don't know if it's been topped, has it?
That opening scene?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
What scene can you think of that like even comes close to just the cleverness, the engagement, the intensity? I mean, none of us had, nobody knew who Indiana Jones was as a character, and that scene revealed so much. It was unbelievable.
That's hard to top because it shows his cleverness. It shows his athletic ability in the sense that not only is he like smart up here, he's strong so he can handle himself.
Right.
And then, he's got a gun, so like he's got all this stuff. So yeah. And then
Just set him apart. He's just a fascinating character.
right, and then he's just a professor on the side, which I think is hilarious. Well,
Right.
actually, he's mainly a professor.
Right.
And then,
Adventurer on the side.
and then you knew he got the ladies too, because that one girl was like,
Right, had written that she loved him on her eyelids. That's a hardcore move.
that's, first of all, that is psycho girl vibes. If a girl ever
Stay
walks
away.
up to you with "I love you" on her eyelids, run away fast, because she will have your eyeballs in a container, and it will be quick, in your sleep.
It's good advice. Keep your distance.
Yes. So yeah, the dude.
He pulled.
He did pull.
Mm-hmm.
Indy pulls, baby. Indy pulls. And it's a different girl every movie. It don't matter if she's good. It don't matter if she's bad. Or she's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not someone you'd want to necessarily take as a good example of discretion. He's not necessarily going to steer you in the right direction as a friend. Not in that way, at least. Yeah.
So, oh, man. Yeah. I love the first movie so much.
Yeah, 1981. What an incredible thing. So how on earth to bring it to the present day, or the soon to be present day in 2023, how in the world are we getting another Indiana Jones movie 42 years after the original was released?
Because Harrison
What?
Ford won't let it die.
Do you think is this supposed to be like his swan song for Indy? Is he just trying to end on a positive note because he knows, hey, the Crystal Skull sucked, we need to do better?
I would say so, because he said, and he's always said that first and foremost, there will never be another Indiana Jones. He said that character will die with him.
Okay.
Although I don't think that's really his choice. The character will die with him, according to him. This is the only character that.
Hey, listen, if he dies, he's not going to know.
Right.
Right.
The character that Indiana Jones is the only character he has thoroughly enjoyed, unlike Han Solo, where he asked to die multiple times throughout the original trilogy, and they finally did it for him in the seventh. Literally, I watched one of his like trophy speeches or whatever, and he got like a trophy, an award, and they played the Indiana Jones theme song behind him as he was walking up, and the first thing he says, "That damn music follows me everywhere," and then he just keeps talking. It's like, bro, that's your music.
Just a grumpus.
So, no, I think that's part of it too. It's like a swan song. James Mangold's done it already with Logan, so
Sure.
I think he's the appropriate director to put.
There's some precedent that's been set. I mean, it's been 15 years. I mean, I'm just looking through the timeline here. All right, Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981, so 42 years since the original. Temple of Doom, 1984. Last Crusade, 1989. All right, and then Indy goes to sleep for a good 19 years, wakes up and looks out for the Crystal Skull in 2008. 2008. So 15 years later, we're doing a fifth. It is an inexplicable timeline. And that's the only thing that I can rationalize in my mind is he's just trying to finish better than where the current finish sits.
I agree, and it's just what's tough for me is he's 80 years old. The dude is old. That is my grandfather.
Oh my gosh.
My grandpa is 81. That
my
would be
goodness.
him and going and doing all those. He has a bum knee. Okay, my grandpa ain't running anywhere, and you know damn well he wasn't running anywhere. So it's just, I don't know. But I will say that
Nor do I.
the trailer feels like an Indiana Jones movie. Like it feels like it brings me back. I get those Raiders of the Lost Ark
Yep.
vibes a little bit.
Yep.
With the sense of humor. And
Right.
the,
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
Scenes.
Where he's cracking the whip and saying, "Get back," and then everybody in the room pulls a gun on him.
That is hilarious.
His eyes get wide. He just ducks under the table.
That reminds me of another good moment is where that one dude is throwing
Right,
swords around in the
the
first
sword.
one and he just shoots him. It's hilarious.
It's a great move.
Oh, great move.
Yep, just blows him away. Yeah. No, I agree. The trailer has to give you hope, right? Unless you're an entirely pessimistic individual, you got to be enjoying what you see in the trailer, wondering at the same time how on earth it's a thing. But hey, reason to be better to go into it optimistically. I would like for it to do well. I would like for it to put a good bow on the character. Again, I have no freaking clue what time frame they're supposed to be in because Harrison may not look 80, but he also doesn't look 40. No. So he's in his elder days. How are we getting Nazis in the not World War II era? We'll see.
I know there was a lot of jumping around in the trailer. There was a couple shots of a de-aged Indy. So I don't know how much of that's going to play back and forth.
Sure.
And it looks...
It's delving into the past and just the future, or the present is not necessarily our present, but it's also not the 1940s.
Right.
Sure.
So, and it feels like with like the signs and stuff and the peace, it feels like it's Vietnam War-esque would be my guess. But again, I'm like, does that time frame work?
Don't know.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then on top of that, it's like, so I guess Nazis could still be around, but they definitely don't have power. So I don't know.
They're not welcome here anymore.
No. So I have no idea.
Fascinating stuff. All right, well, we're here for Indy. Good on you, Harrison. You're chugging along inexplicably, incredibly, as the crotchety old curmudgeon that you've always been, whether as a youth or now literally as an old person. You've always been a curmudgeon, and we appreciate you for that. So kudos to Harrison. Okay, a couple other trailers dropped, as you mentioned earlier. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the last, so far as we know, Guardians of the Galaxy movie, so it'll tie off into a trilogy. And as you noted pre-recording, this felt just a tinge bit somber.
This is depressing. This trailer was depressing. Like,
what about it in particular depressed you?
Okay, we can come up with a couple songs. Okay. Because Rocket, like the flashbacks from Rocket was like,
sad.
Oh, crap.
Yep.
This is gonna suck. And then there was a couple other moments, and I'm trying to remember what they were off the top of my noggin, but there were a couple other spots where it was like, ooh. Because who was getting their shit rocked by Adam Warlock? Was that Nebula? Somebody was getting their ass beat.
It wasn't going well.
Like, it was not going well at all. Adam Warlock looks badass, by the way.
He does look terrific.
Super excited about him.
He does look terrific.
But, yeah, I don't know. It just looks so sad. So sad. So, hopefully... I mean, they already kind of went into Star-Lord's depressingness, so it won't be focused on him in that sense.
Sure.
Except him trying to get Gamora back, probably. But... yeah, other than that, it's like...
Who on earth, by the way, is the High Evolutionary supposed to be? Because he's being presented, along with Adam Warlock, as one of the main adversaries to the Guardians in this movie.
As far as I know, he is the main villain.
Yep.
From what did James Gunn say? He said something along the lines of...
Because I know nothing about him from comics lore.
Let me look.
He looked quite imposing.
He looks dope, and I'm trying to think. I just want to get a little taste of his backstory.
Yep.
Okay, well, I don't want that then. MCU is what I want. But it was something along the lines of... Let me see. He's a scientist who seeks to take what he views as lower life forms and enhance them into a perfect species. So he's probably who made Rocket Raccoon.
Kind of hits it right on the nose there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's super smart and pretty much believes in evolution, but he wants to be doing the evolving.
Alrighty then.
I mean, it's in the name.
Yeah.
I didn't even do that on purpose either. I said evolving, not remembering that his name was the High Evolutionary. So.
Good on you. Here's the deal. It didn't feel nearly as buoyant as the previous two Guardians movies, where the stakes have. It's part of what has been so unique and in a really positive way about those movies is that the stakes have been pretty critical, pretty high. Like there's been life or death stakes for the characters within the movies, and yet it has never felt like there's actually any threat of them dying, right? Like, worst thing that happened in the first movie was Groot died, heavy air quotes, but even then, you had the feeling that he's not actually dead, and sure enough, he's brought back immediately in the form of a seedling. Second movie, okay, they're on Ego, the living planet. So again, the stakes are significant. The universe is at risk, but it didn't feel like they weren't going to make it. This feels like we might have a problem. Like we might have some Guardians that don't come back. I think, I'm going bold, I don't think any of them are coming back. I think they're toast.
See, and this is why I disagree.
Toast.
Because
James Gunn is going out.
James Gunn is out. I think,
He's
if
gone.
anything, there will be a reinvention of the Guardians, and we'll get like a new roster. I think for sure Drax is done. I don't think there's anything keeping Dave Bautista. He was pretty pissed off that they what they did with James Gunn years back.
Yep.
So he's definitely dead.
Yep.
Nebula, I can also see as just being donezo.
Yep.
Because her whole character arc kind of ended in Endgame, where she redeemed herself fully and is now a hero. I'm honestly surprised she didn't die in that one, if we're being real. Star-Lord, I think, will be okay, because Chris Pratt's a big name. And
Do you think he wants to stick around, though?
why not? You're going to make so much money.
I think he's gone.
Okay, and then Gamora dying twice?
Be a little heavy. Be a little heavy.
Like, they just brought her back to kill her off again.
That'd
I'm
be
like,
amazing.
ugh.
Can you imagine if she dies in the first 5 minutes?
That's ballsy. That is ballsy. Because she had to go be a blue person instead of a green person to go film Avatar.
Gone. Sorry.
No, and then, I mean, and like I was telling you earlier, Rocket and Groot make the most sense to keep living because they are the easiest to recast.
Sure.
And honestly, Vin Diesel will be making so much money off of his voice saying, I am Groot for the rest of his life.
Dumbest thing in the world.
Right.
Dumbest thing in the world.
So, I don't know. I'm kind of in that. I think.
No,
maybe,
you're almost definitely right. I'm just choosing to go really bold here and say they're gone. Goodbye.
Hey, go for it. I can also see Rocket dying, though, too.
Sure.
The way that they're building Rocket, it's like, yeah, this dude is going to die.
You just know Adam Warlock's going to end up being a member of the new team.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone else is. Also, I wouldn't mind if the Kraglin just died. I wouldn't be surprised if he died. He might have that big sacrifice at the end.
I'm going to miss Dave Bautista. I have adored him as Drax.
Oh, for sure.
He's been absolutely outstanding. And so for him to no longer be a part of that universe, part of that role, that's going to really stink.
It is going to suck.
It's going to stink.
But here's the deal with like Phase 5 and Phase 6. You can kind of get a little freaky with it and kill some people.
Sure.
All you have to do is Secret Wars comes along and you can kind of just fix it. Because honestly, I think that I would not be surprised if that's the route they go with Black Panther. And that they're like, okay, well, we want T'Challa back. Another universe combined. There was the the collision or whatever.
Right, those
reinstated
convergences.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
Miles is here now with Peter. Like, anything can really happen in that sense. So
Well, fun to get a look at Guardians 3. Lot of time between now and then, but
we don't even really have a plot either.
no, we don't know. But excited to see. I think James Gunn has crushed it in 2 straight movies. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does for round 3. So should be a treat.
Did we talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
I couldn't
Yep.
remember.
Yep, we
Okay.
hit on that a bit. Third trailer that we saw that was released was Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Did we decide that was the 6th movie?
It is the 6th movie. It is
Unless you're counting Bumblebee, right?
right.
Okay.
So if you're counting spin-offs, it is
So
number 7.
7th Transformers directed themed movie overall, but 6th Transformers is in the group proper. Bumblebee got his own spin-off, so good on you, B.
What I love about these movies is the rosters are different every time, minus 2 characters.
Sure.
It is always Optimus Prime,
Yep.
and it is always Bumblebee. After that, hey, you remember those couple Transformers you really liked from the last one? They aren't here anymore. Because John Goodman was a Transformer. I don't know if you remember that one. That's hilarious. I don't know what happened to him. They had the twins in the second one, which were my favorite Transformers of all time after Jazz in the first one. Jazz not coming back is hilarious in its own sense. But which, by the way, I don't know how old I was when that first one came out, but when Jazz died in the first one, that broke my heart.
He got ripped in half.
Ripped in half.
Yeah, he didn't just die. He got smoked. It was
so
decisive.
I think oil splurted out. I was like, no.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, Megatron, that was one-sided.
There's actually, thinking about this, there were a lot of deaths. So maybe some of those characters just didn't come back because of the dying. But there was I don't know if you remember, I think it was the 4th one. There were 3 NASCARs.
Sure.
Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I want to say Jeff Gordon or somebody random also had their race cars as Transformers, and it's why? I swear to God.
Movies are out of control. They're absolutely out of control.
I love it.
They're great for what they're supposed to be, and they're out of control.
But I don't. It's so confusing how they're okay, we want these ones back, but we don't want these ones back.
And how do we have a gorilla transformer? Help me understand that.
Those are not. So you have Autobots and you have Decepticons.
Yes.
And then you have 2 more factions.
Ah.
Yeah, that's another faction. But they are good guys. And then there's an evil faction again.
Yes.
That is the enemies of those ones. And let me look up.
Goodness.
Let me look this up.
My goodness.
We'll get real specific. Because my Transformers knowledge is very limited. Transformers factions. Nope, that is not how you spell factions. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Oh my gosh, I hate that I'm even gonna say it. The Maximals.
Yes.
And the Predacons.
Maximals and the Predacons. Okay.
There's more factions, by the way. Dinobots is in there too, which was in the 4th one, and those were sweet too, but that's besides the point.
Here's the deal. I just have to read you a list of the character names, because these are just fantastic.
They are amazing.
Right? It starts out pretty good, and it gets better, all right? Maximal Erasar.
Oh, you're doing the new ones.
Yeah.
Oh.
Scourge, Autobot Mirage, Optimus Primal. Not
Yeah,
Prime, Optimus Primal.
That is the leader of the Maximals. My guess.
Yep. Okay, hang on a second. Here we go. Stratosphere, Nightbird, Optimus Prime.
First of all, Stratosphere.
Wheeljack.
Dude, Stratosphere, badass.
Rhinox.
These are awesome, actually. I love all of this.
It's incredible.
I now want Transformers toys again.
Oh my goodness.
This is the 14th time in my life I actually wanted Transformers
goodness. Toys. That's great. It's great. And you know what? You know what you should be expecting right? There shouldn't be any misplaced expectations at this point, especially. This is the 6th or 7th, depending on your point of view. But it looks so vastly entertaining, and like the level of detail with the design. I love how the faces are becoming more distinct, right? Because that was one thing that was, to me, a little, I'm going to say unsettling with the first Transformers movie, and I get it. Different time. The technology has vastly improved, but it was hard to tell like which Transformer was what. The personalities were quite veiled in the design. Like you didn't have much distinction in the faces.
I see what you're saying.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so I love that there's more almost of a human aspect being melded into the design of the faces with more distinct facial features. Right? Obviously, the Transformers have always had distinct body types depending on the types of vehicles that they can transform into or out of. But I like that the faces are becoming a little bit more dialed in. That's pretty cool.
I also like, it feels like design-wise, they're trying to make it look like the old toys and the old cartoons, which I'm kind of like, I'm digging. I'm digging it a little bit.
Yeah, even as someone that has does not own any Transformer toys, never has. I agree. Love that. Love that design.
The only downside about these movies is the human characters. First of all, why? But
good question.
Do you know how much I miss Sam Witwicky? I miss Sam.
No one's been better than Sam.
I miss Shia LaBeouf.
Not even Mark Wahlberg.
You had Mark Wahlberg thrown in there, and I was like, why? I guess it's Mark Wahlberg. I love Mark Wahlberg, but it's like, why? And then
Nope. Need Sam.
And now it looks like we're having one of the guys from the Broadway musical Hamilton involved in this one. So, and that's all of the humans I recognize. I will say that exit with him out of the Transformer was sick as hell. That casual walk with the briefcase out, that was pretty sweet.
Pretty cool.
Pretty key. But, oh man, I'm excited. We're getting good movies. It's a night, like, I love my superhero movies. Obviously we do here, but it's a nice little, like, it's a nice thing to go and be excited for other movies too.
100%. Yeah, 100%. There is no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt. So, all good things. That's great. Okay, anything else on those 3 flicks that you want to touch on, Riles?
No.
Okay, something that we did not put on our to talk about list that I did want to touch on.
Yeah.
Because I think this is really relevant, and then we should get into some, maybe some top 5 action.
Hey, we have the time.
I love it. So, Bob Iger, okay, is that a name that you recognize?
Yes, Disney.
CEO, right? So Bob retires. Okay, a little context here. Bob retires, steps down in 2020. Okay, as expected. No controversy, no shenanigans. He had taken over the role way back in 2005, oversaw a run of significant growth within the company, heralded as one of the great CEOs of his time. All this, steps out in glory, handpicks his successor, and after 2.5 years of watching the successor poop the bed, Bob steps back in. So he's back. Mm-hmm. And so it's been newsworthy. It's been worth tracking, worth keeping tabs on. But there's a quote here from Bob that I think is in line with what you and I have discussed on this podcast over the course of many pods in the last year in particular. Bob, I'm going to read a quote. This is from Inc.com, all right, in reference to Mr. Iger. In a town hall on Monday, Iger told employees that he believes creativity and storytelling are at the heart of Disney. I'm obsessed with it, and I'm obsessed with it for a reason, because it drives this company, Iger said. Here's the end of the quote. It's not about how much we create. It's about how great the things are that we do create. Methinks that Bob feels like you and I, or he's been listening to the podcast. That's probably really what it is. Bob's been listening to the pod. Bob's a fan. He doesn't want to name drop us. He doesn't want us to get too big too fast.
I'm going to say you can
Appreciate you,
send
Bob.
us the check in the mail.
Appreciate you.
Wink, wink. Sign that out to Riley. Beans isn't my real name. And then however many zeros that you want to throw at the end of there, yes.
dude, just hire me. Like, don't even give me money. Just hire me. That'd be great.
Works.
Yeah.
That also works.
But I am fascinated based on that quote and that comment and all the lack of drama that was part of Bob's original run as CEO to the drama that has ensued since he left that he is now stepping into to try and resolve. I think there's a lot of merit to what we've been saying. So it's a little bit of a pat ourselves on the back, but also to call attention to there could be a significant, not at all subtle change coming in the sheer volume of content that we have seen just pour out of Disney in general, but for more of our purposes and our listeners, the Marvel side as well. I mean, we have lamented multiple times about the fillers in different episodes, whether it be Hawkeye or She-Hulk or others, and that's been a potential temporary bump in the road, but I don't think it's an accident that is part of what has happened, and now we hear the former CEO who stepping back in, saying something to the extent of, we're putting out too much, and it's not good enough. We can do better simply by doing less.
You know what? On top of that, it also makes me wonder how much that guy had say when it came to Marvel and it came to Star Wars, because, like, I remember hearing some frustrations from Feige.
Sure.
So I'm wondering if that was attached to that.
Sure.
And maybe Kevin was like, we need to slow down, and that guy's like, no, we need to keep
Crank
producing.
stuff out.
So I'll be curious to see what that effect is out of the gate, because if Marvel keeps pushing out a bunch of content, then we know it wasn't him. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I just think it's worth noting. It's fascinating to see what will come of that. And to your point too, it's hard to know, hey, how much does the guy or gal, whoever it is at the very top, how much can they truly influence? Because it still comes down to the screenwriters coming up with a solid and producing a outstanding screenplay, the director putting together a phenomenal film, actors and actresses coming through with great performances. There's so many pieces, so many people involved that I think it's an oversimplification and inaccurate to put it all, for better or for worse, on one person. And at the same time, the person at the top has the greatest opportunity for influence, right? They permit or do not permit what does cross through the threshold or cross over the threshold. So it makes me hopeful. That there's some appropriate course correcting going on at the very top for these beloved franchises. Right now, the other side of that too is, well, he also oversaw the Disney takeover of the Star Wars franchise, and that has been a mixed bag. Not all bad, but certainly not great either.
Well, there's a lady in charge of that shouldn't be.
Yeah, well, Kathleen Kennedy, she's got some work to do. But again, she answers to Bob. And Bob, if we want to give him some modicum of credit for what's taken place with Marvel, it's worth giving him a fair share of the discredit for what has or hasn't happened with Star Wars as well. So anyway, good on you, Bob. We believe in you. We believe in what you're saying. And again, send the check, RILEY, not beans, not BEAN.
Yep. Or RYLEE or RY.
Just about anything will do.
LEIGH. Those are all the female spellings of the name, all right? RILEY.
Gotta get it right. Gotta be precise. Love it. All right, I think it's time for another classic JP and the Beans Top 5. Today's Top 5, we are revealing who we believe to be the 5 most influential directors of superhero movies across Marvel and DC. So not necessarily best, not necessarily even favorites, but influential. So, Riles.
Oh, yeah, influential, right?
Influential.
Okay.
Influential.
Okay. That makes sense. I kind of went best, but influential still works.
Best-
in this sense
best is fine.
because there's a reason they're the best.
There's
because of
a
the
reason.
influence. So I did it right.
There's a
We're
reason.
good.
You're good. So my number 5, I'm going to go first here. I'm going to kick us off. We've name dropped this guy already a couple times on the pod. Mr. Jimmy James Gunn is my number 5. What James accomplished with the Guardians movie, I think, was extraordinarily significant because it proved that Marvel and superhero movies could be based around characters that no one knew about going into, and people would still go to the movie, still see the movie, still enjoy the movie, and it helps that the movie's actually good, right? It's not just, hey, they're obscure, perfect, that'll work. No, you actually got to crush it. You got to do a great job. And James did just that. That first Guardians movie, I think I watched it 3 times in the theaters. I enjoyed it that much.
So good.
It was great, and it still holds up, still stands the test of time. Guardians 2 was also quite solid. He obviously doesn't have a lot more besides that. Now, he made a good Suicide Squad movie for DC. Not my personal favorite, but it was well made.
And he still
It was still vastly better than the previous Suicide Squad movie.
Right. And I think James Gunn's like the thing he does best, and it's kind of what you said too.
Mm-hmm.
The way he takes characters that no one cares about and then turns them around into these pretty much iconic characters.
He finds value in them, man.
Right. It's like no one would have like really cared about King Shark or Polka Dot Man until
Correct.
that movie.
Yep,
So do what you will with that.
no doubt. So there's my number 5, James Gunn.
My number 5 is Ryan Coogler.
Nice choice.
First of all, Black Panther like broke the world when that movie came out, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, I want to say from a superhero movie perspective, I think he is arguably, if not the best at world building. Because Wakanda as a whole, like you want to know more about that country.
Yep.
It's insane. It's awesome. They're talking about doing a Black Panther like prequel series or something about the first Black Panther, which I'm all in, and I don't even know anything about the first Black Panther. Frankly, they might not either, and they might just make it all up.
Still
Fine
here
by
for
me.
it. Still here
But
for it.
in old Wakanda, sick, and they have like this awesome mix of technology and like I don't know how to describe it. Like old and new technology mixing together
Yes.
to work even better. I
Yes.
think it's awesome. So strictly off of world building, and he also gave us Killmonger and Namor, which are 2 of the better Marvel villains we've gotten. Killmonger probably is a top 5 Marvel villain.
Oh, no question.
So
Yeah, love that pick. He didn't quite make my list. Hate myself for that a little bit.
I was juggling him, and I was juggling who's the other one on my list? Taika I thought about,
Sure.
but because of Thor 4, he's dead to me. And then there was one more, and I feel really bad for not knowing who that is. Oh, technically Joss Whedon. You could throw in there too with Avengers, but I don't know.
Yep.
So that was my number 5.
Yep.
Am I
Love that. Love it. All right, who's your number 4?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
My number 4 is James Gunn.
Yes.
James Gunn is my number 4 because of exactly everything that you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's a great choice.
Yep.
Yeah. Great choice. My number 4 is Sam Raimi.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sam, the guy. Director of the first 3 Spider-Man movies, and more recently, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. What Sam was able to accomplish with the Spider-Man movies, in some respects, it feels a bit campy, but he was able to get enough. There was this transition that had to take place, right, with the first Spider-Man movie. Superhero movies were still pretty goofy, pretty slapsticky, and there's elements of that in the first Spider-Man movie. But enough of the movie was grounded, was able to be taken seriously, that you realized, hey, there's a real story to tell about this character of Peter Parker. And then by the time we get to Spider-Man 2, you have one of the best superhero movies of all time that gets further away or distances itself further away from the campiness, from the silliness, and just delves deep into a character arc that is as good as it gets. And what Sam Raimi was able to accomplish, I think, helped pave the way for future movies. So, Sam Raimi, my number 4. How about you? What do you got for? Or you already said. Sorry, you said number 4. I'm number 4.
I mean, I could say it again.
I'm just going loopy here. My number 3 is Jon Favreau. That's my number 3.
That was the other one. That was the other one on my border.
Yep. Now, John by far has the tiniest filmography that's revealed on my list. He's got Iron Man and Iron Man 2, and Iron Man 2 is not nearly as good as the original Iron Man. But how good is it when your movie paves the way for all the other movies? I'd say it's pretty good.
And you still get to be involved in a lot more movies than that.
I'd say that's pretty good. So his influence has gone beyond just, as a director, producer, even acting in the various movies as Happy Hogan. But what he was able to capture in that first Iron Man movie, that tone is felt throughout the first 3 phases of the MCU. Like the combination of great character building, great storytelling, and yet humor mixed in there. That's it. That's everything you see in Iron Man. That's what has made so many Marvel movies great. And Favreau is responsible for setting that tone. He crushed it. That's my number 3.
My number 3 is Sam Raimi.
Come on.
Because of Spider-Man and a lot of the things you said, but the way he portrayed Peter Parker on screen, it felt like he really just ripped that out of the comics. Mm-hmm. That's one of the most comic book accurate just takes on a hero in general. Like, that was Spider-Man. Yeah. And if you think about it too, this came out at a time where like it kind of helped establish superhero movies could do well.
Yes.
Because this and X-Men came out right around the same time.
Right. Yep.
Maybe a year apart. Maybe I think
2000, 2001.
I want to say X-Men was first.
Yep.
Correct. So like,
it's a big deal.
Yeah, they kind of set the stage for it, and Spider-Man was the first comic book movie that I went to see in theaters with my dad, and Green Goblin scared the bejesus out of me for rightful reasons.
Yes.
But so Sam Raimi, and I don't even blame them all for Spider-Man 3 after I heard all the backstories.
That was well out of his control at that point.
I wish we wouldn't have gotten robbed of Spider-Man 4 because they released, I don't know if you've seen these pictures, but they did release like stills of like the vulture wings, and they looked legit. And it's such a bummer that we didn't get that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's my number 3.
Love it. All right, who do you got at number 2?
Okay. I think our number 2 and number 1 are going to be the same, and if they're not, I'll be surprised. So, number 2, I have the Russo brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same.
For Captain America Winter Soldier, for Infinity War, and for Endgame. Because not only is... and Civil War. And Civil War.
How's that for a lineup?
Right.
Those are bangers.
Right.
They're 4 bangers.
Right. So, Winter Soldier was fantastic. It's arguably it is the best Captain America movie because the third one is an Avengers movie.
Agreed.
So,
totally agree.
Winter Soldier's fantastic, the way they balance Bucky. Civil War is great to handling the dynamic of Captain America and Iron Man.
Yep.
And Infinity War and Endgame, they somehow figured out how to balance an entire roster and still focus on this one main bad villain and just have him dominate everybody. It is awesome. They did something that we are not going to see again for a while, and I don't even know if anyone else can top what they did. I don't even know if the next Avengers movies can do that.
Totally agree. Yeah, they're my number 2 also, and you've said it very well. I think what blew me away in coming up with my list is all of these names that are on this list have a few in there, or have a movie that you're like, it just wasn't quite peak. Not a bad movie, but it wasn't peak. What movie do you want to pick apart on the Russo brothers? You can't.
You can't.
You can't. I mean, I remember going into the Captain America Winter Soldier movie and not having high expectations at all. Like, Cap was present. His character was what it needed to be, I think, in the first Avengers movie, but he was far from a formidable force. In the opening scene of Winter Soldier, where he is just wrecking the crew of pirates that has taken over the SHIELD ship, what a tone setter that was. It was wait a minute. This is Captain America? I'm in. I'm in for this. In that movie, now that I rewatch it, even with heightened expectations, it's still fantastic. It's outstanding. It's so well designed, not just with the story, but the characters in every aspect. It's an absolute win. And they carried that into Civil War, which, as you said, let's be real, it's an Avengers movie. And then what they accomplished with Infinity War and Endgame, the sheer massive scale, all the characters that they hadn't spent as much time with, the fact that they were able to maintain individual tones of Guardians characters, of Doctor Strange, of Iron Man, all these characters. I mean, they brought Spider-Man and Black Panther into the MCU.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
Wow. By rights, maybe they should be number one. I was going back and forth on this.
For me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Do we say it together?
I think we do.
Okay, on three.
You bet.
1, 2, 3.
Zack
Michael
Snyder.
Bay. It's Christopher Nolan. It's Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Mother Lovin' Nolan.
I'm so proud of you that you did the same thing that I did. That's awesome. Yes, Christopher Nolan.
It's got to be, right?
Oh, for sure.
Here's something. Then I want to say one thing about Christopher Nolan, and then I want you to go. Here are the superhero movies that came out in 2005, same year that Batman Begins came out. Okay. Sky High, Superhero Academy.
Hey, great movie. Actually,
Honestly,
it's not bad.
It's actually entertaining. Yep.
And they have Kurt Russell in that movie for whatever reason.
What a pull. Yep. So can't be hating on Sky High. Too much. Fantastic Four. Okay.
The first one?
The first one.
Oh, that came out at the same time as Batman Begins?
How about that?
That's not a terrible movie, though.
Not terrible.
Not great, but not
great.
terrible.
Nope. Elektra.
I forgot they made that into a movie.
Yeah, and that's really it. Like this Google search is resulting in some other shenanigans, but that's really it. But that just gives you an idea of, okay, what was out there when Batman Begins showed up on the scene. That was it.
Dark Knight was 2008, right?
Correct.
So we had Iron Man and Batman in the same span.
Yep.
2008 was iconic.
100%.
Yeah, for me, like, The Dark Knight is even, like, I think the craziest part about The Dark Knight is not only is it arguably the best superhero movie to ever grace the screen, it is art. That also goes down as one of the greatest films. So not just superhero films, general films. I believe Heath Ledger's Joker is in the top 5 villains all-time movie-wise on IMDb. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal movie. The whole trilogy is outstanding. I stand by Dark Knight Rises. I think it's great. I don't think it's at the same level as The Dark Knight, but I still think it's a great movie.
Oh, for sure.
And I think Batman Begins is as good of an origin movie as you're ever going to see for a character. And what Christopher Nolan accomplished, like the word that people loved throwing around was, it's serious, it's serious, it's serious. And that's not what made it special. Like the tone, that's part of what makes it unique. But the reason I get a little frustrated with this, it simply demanded to be taken seriously. Like it took itself seriously. It's like, hey, this is a great character with a great story to tell. We don't have to goof off. We don't have to apologize for, this is kind of silly, isn't it? It's like, this is going to be a dude dressing as a bat. vigilanteing as a billionaire around his city, and it's going to be awesome, and you're going to believe in it and want to see more of it. He didn't apologize for that. That was incredible. He was proud of what it was, rightfully so, and it gave permission, it gave clearance for these movies, for everything that came after that to exist. It's like you don't have to apologize for the potential absurdity of it. Lean into it, in fact. Just embrace it and take yourself seriously. You don't have to be serious in tone, #Superman, but you do have to take yourself seriously, and that allows your strengths to show. And I thought that was just such a special thing.
Well, if you think about all the Batmen that came before,
Yep.
we had, Michael Keaton's. I don't know if I've even seen all those all the way through or remember much of them, if I have. But, if you just look off pure character design alone, they're kind of campy.
Yep.
Very much so.
Oh, they just got progressively more goofy.
Right, and George Clooney's Batman had nipples on the suit. Okay? And then that was the last Batman before, correct? If I'm not mistaken, before Christian Bale took Batman?
Dude, Clooney finished filming that movie and said, well, we just killed the franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, dude.
Yeah, he knew it wasn't good.
Right. So to have it pretty much where they left Batman off was we can't do superhero movies again. Mm-hmm. And to have him be you still had X-Men and Spider-Man where it's these can be successful, but they're still kind of comic booky. Right. And then to have the Dark Knight show up and be okay, yes, we're going to have the same essence as Batman in the comics, but we're going to go for a more realistic take.
Yep.
And we're going to, this is Batman in the real world, and we're not going to worry about anybody else except Batman.
It was so believable, so relatable, that it tied it into the real world in such an intentional fashion. What an impossible balance to strike. To have it be believable in the real world and yet still be fantastical enough that you're blown away by the scenes, by the action, by the feats that are taking place in the movies. It's absolutely, absolutely incredible. And the level of detail that Nolan brought to the storytelling, I think it just set a different bar for the superhero movie genre as well. It's this is what you can be. So aspire to be that. And I think that's part of what makes it so absolutely influential. And to your point about The Dark Knight, that movie was so good, it didn't get nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. And the Academy changed the rules because they realized that movie should have, at very minimum, been nominated. And so it went from whatever the limited number, I think it was just 5 nominees for Best Picture, and expanded it to 10 within the next year or two. Because it went, this is, okay, how did we keep this one out? That's ridiculous. Because to your point, it's just an outstanding movie, superhero movie category notwithstanding. It's absolutely worthy of all the praise it gets.
Well, and what superhero movie before that ever got nominated? No. Probably none.
No.
Probably none.
No. They were in their own and not flattering category. So it allowed superhero movies to grow up to their betterment, not to a place of where DC overcorrected, right? And said, hey, Zack Snyder, why don't you just make everybody really serious and somber? It's no, that's not what's special about it. That's not the point. But they were able to mature is probably the right word to use there. And that was absolutely critical. Here's the deal. This has been a fun top 5 to do. I really, really, really thought about putting Zack Snyder in here as influential in a negative way. Hey, here's what not to do. Here's what not to do.
You could make that argument with Joss Whedon, too.
Sure.
Because, give Zack Snyder, Zack Snyder had his own flair for it.
Yep.
And there were people that had that fan base. Mm-hmm. And then you also had Joss Whedon, who jumped on that Justice League train and ruined it more.
Right.
which didn't copy the tone at all of his other ones, which
No.
made it worse.
No.
And you also had Joss Whedon, who decided, yes, he is influential for the first Avengers because that movie
It's great.
is fantastic.
It's great
But then he
and
decided
critical.
to copy and paste it for the second one, and it didn't work.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Well, and Zach, here's the thing. He even got some things right. What he got right more than anything else was the casting. He cast Henry Cavill. Great choice. He cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Great choice. He cast Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Great choice. He also cast Ben Affleck as Batman.
and Ezra Miller is the Flash.
Whoops.
So 3 for 5? 4 for
Again,
5?
both what to do and
3
what
for 5.
and what not to do. That was, yeah.
And Cyborg, 4 for 6.
Hey, there you go. Yep,
wait.
yep. Ray Fisher is Cyborg.
4 for 6.
Yep.
Yeah,
He was
yep,
great.
yep.
He was great.
Yeah. So,
Well, there you go. There's another JP and the Beans top 5. Feel free to share with us what your top 5 most influential superhero movie directors would be. So that's what I got for you, Beans.
perfect. I think we wrap it up there.
It's time.
All right. As always, come check us out on YouTube. Come check us out on TikTok at the Magic Beans Productions. Come check us out wherever you can listen to a podcast.
You bet.
You found us here, so
Thank
you
you.
can find us somewhere else. If you enjoy listening to me and you want to hear me,
Sure you do. Sure you
say
do.
some other stuff. Cloudy with Chance of Beans, rated R, and then I think, and that's Thursdays at noon. And yeah, I think that's it.
Crushed it. Love it.
On that note, God bless.
Peace.